Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's postgraduate information session on the MATV fiction writing here at Glasgow Caledonian University. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. So my name is Katie and I'll be here to host this 30-minute session for you. And before we begin, just a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So all microphones and cameras are disabled during the session. This is just to ensure everything runs smoothly for everyone. But if you have any questions at any point, please pop those into the chat box and we'll be answering as many as we can throughout and during a Q&A at the end. I'd also like to let you know that the session is being recorded and it will be available on the GCU YouTube page in the coming weeks, so you'll be able to watch this back or share it with others. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce today's presenter. We are joined by the programme leader of the course, David Cosgrove, and I'm now going to hand over to David to take us through a short presentation.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. As Katie said, my name's David. I'm the programme lead on the Masters in Television Fiction. I've got a few screens for you. Let's see if we can get them on the go. Give you a quick overview of the programme and then we'll get into some details. I'm happy to take any questions you want. But so MATV is a kind of unique course in the sense that we've been running about 15 years and it was set up with the help of a production company called Shed Productions. They were subsequently bought up by Warner Brothers. So we've had industry connections from the very first day the course launched. We tend to focus only on television writing. Many other courses across the country do film and television, but our experience from feedback from other courses is sometimes that TV kind of gets left to the end and gets a couple of lectures, but that's not the case here. We only do television. We'll use film occasionally as examples of structure or examples of character, but the focus for us is training people to go out and be the next generation of television writers in the UK. We've got close ties with BAFTA, Creative Scotland, all of the major broadcasters. We have agreements of support with BBC here in BBC Scotland and also STV Studios. We have enormous back and forward between those organisations. Many of our current students make good use of the contacts we have. Only this week, we were contacted at short notice by BAFTA Scotland to let us know that they were going to be showing 2 episodes of a new series, and would our students like to come along and be part of those showings and be part of the Q&A with Sanjeev Kohli afterwards. These are great networking opportunities. As you know, the business, or maybe you don't know, but the business is heavily dependent on personal contacts. Networking is crucial to you be able to get on and develop your career in the business. And right from the start, we offer opportunities for our students to meet with and interact with commissioners, script editors, writers, obviously. So that industry connection is one of our big pluses. It's one of the reasons that people come to us. It helps you, as it says here, build your professional network before you even graduate. We have guest speakers who come in all the time. As I say, they're commissioners, they're script editors, they are working writers. Virtually all of our staff who teach writing on the course are themselves professional working writers. I've been a professional writer for about 34 years now. I also teach along at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. I developed and teach 4 courses there as well. But interestingly, after writing for about 20 years myself, I actually came on the 2nd year of this particular course. I was doing fine, I was making a nice living, but I found that my writing had plateaued. I'd hit a ceiling about how to get on. When I started writing, there were no courses like this. There was no internet. So I just made it up as I went along. And I found that I needed some more instruction on form, on structure, on just thinking about things in a bit more deeply. So I came on the course in its second year, and my writing and my writing career just absolutely blossomed after that, winning some awards, getting on various programs with production companies. So, but everybody on the course is a professional. We all know what we're doing. We all know what we're saying. We're working on programs currently. Glasgow, I don't know if you're from outside Glasgow, but Glasgow is one of the best places to come and do this. It's small enough for you to make contacts with everyone. And we have so many production companies here. We've got BBC Scotland, obviously based here, STV Studios, BAFTA Scotland. Creative Scotland's just along the road in Edinburgh, but we have people in from that all the time. So it's a good place to base yourself. It's a good place in terms of GCU in this course for making those kind of networking connections that are so important. In terms of industry engagement, employability, many of our students, dozens and dozens of them, are now working across the UK in various positions as writers, as script editors, as producers. A really good example of this is a guy called Grant Reid. He's very happy for me to share his story with you. He did my course along at RCS, first of all, at the Conservatoire, and then came here. I recommended him, wrote him a reference, and he did MATV here, and then got himself a job as a script assistant on River City. A lot of people don't go straight in as writers, but they get in the door, as it were, in any position they can. So he was a script assistant. A script assistant is the person who just makes sure that everybody on a set on one day have the correct colour of script. It's a great job because you get to meet everyone, and it's a small job, but it's a really crucial job. And Grant let it be known that he'd done the course and he was interested in moving up. So after a very short time, they made him a script editor on River City. And he did that for a couple of years, then did producer on 6 programmes. He's now permanent staff, senior permanent staff on EastEnders in their script editing department. So one of the things we do is that we give comprehensive training across many factors, many elements of working on a television show. So, of course, you'll get training in story. I do a lot of that. I do a lot of training on that. So, structure, television structure, story structure itself, genre. I'll talk about genre a little bit more in a minute, but it's worth noting that we've revised the course slightly, and we have a new module based entirely on genre. So we're not looking just at drama anymore. We're looking at children's television. We're looking at comedy. We're looking at formats, but I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So obviously we're talking about character creation. We teach a lot in dialogue. We develop your evaluative skills, and we're really keen on helping you develop your own voice, your own creative writing voice. I had a meeting with 3 of the commissioners at BBC Scotland. One's a network commissioner, the other 2 are Scottish commissioners. And they all talked about how they see lots of scripts that are perfectly well formed. They have good characters, the dialogue is fine. But what they're looking for is an authorial voice, your own voice coming through. And this year we're going to be really focusing on that, because that's what gets you the meetings that lead to get you into writers' rooms, that get you working on shows. So that's a big push for us this year. You will get individual mentoring from experienced television professionals. In Tri-C, and I'll talk about the structure of the course in just a second. In Tri-C, you do something called the Independent Script Project. You go off for the whole of Tri-C across the whole of the summer. There's no teaching during that time, but you are allocated an industry mentor. These are top people. These are serious people in the industry. I'll give you an example. He's not working for us this year, but in previous years, he's done a lot for us. There's a guy called Mal Young. You may not know who that is, but he helped set up a television series called Brookside in the 1980s. He then went on to become head of BBC Drama, and he's now the showrunner for one of the huge American daytime soap operas. Very often I have to speak to him on Teams in his beach house in Malibu, which when it's a dreich day in Glasgow is a bit depressing. But he, despite being so high up in the industry, will come on and be a mentor for us. He also comes in and does masterclasses for us. We have direct access to producers and commissioners who come in. They also work as mentors, but they also come in and do, sometimes day-long sessions, sometimes just 2 hours. And many of the people who act as mentors will be those people. And students very often will see a connection and ask directly during the class or after the class in conversation whether or not they would be their mentor on the independent script project. And very often they say yes. Leaving the course, you're going to take away 2 really great calling cards to the market, as spec scripts that you can show people. One of them will be a 60-minute standalone beginning, middle and end story. That's where you really express your authorial voice, where you get your own voice in your writing. There's no brief for that. You can do whatever you want. It's a place to show your abilities, your imagination, your creativity. The other one, which you work on over the summer, is a pilot episode for a new television series with all the accompanying documentation that goes with it. We have all-day script conferences with based around a television show that's on television at the moment, and we will get in a senior member of the production team, sometimes the producer, sometimes the exec producer, sometimes the top script editor, to come in and help run a writer's room for that day, where you'll be pitching ideas for plots for the show that's on the television at the moment. It's as close to a real life experience as possible, because these are the people who are making decisions about yes or no. And then you form into groups, and then you start creating actual scripts for these shows. Yeah. Let's move on. Oops. Okay, let's talk about course structure. You're expected to be in Mondays and Tuesdays during term time. I'm talking about full-time here. We have part-time students as well over 2 years. Also for this year, for the first time, we're not only having a September start, but we're having a January intake as well. That works out better for some people for practical reasons. So you're expected to be in Monday and Tuesday all day. There are 2 modules taught on each of those days. In Tri-A, you'll be looking at long-running drama. Drama's been a mainstay for this course. We've got so many people who've gone on to work on River City and EastEnders and Emmerdale and Hollyoaks and so on. But as I said earlier, we're expanding the genre that we're teaching. So there'll be long-running drama. There'll be a new module called Creativity and Authorship, where again, we're going to be looking at your imagination, your authorial voice, and encouraging that. That's also a place where you start developing ideas for your 60-minute script and for your independent script project. We have a course called Narrative and Structure, which I'll teach, and it's the basics. It's the basics of storytelling, but applied to television. So normally people will talk about 3-act structures when they're talking about film. Here we'll talk about 5-act structure. We'll talk about 3-act structure as well, but we'll talk about 5-act structure because that's kind of what, for example, the BBC is always looking for when you come to offer them one of your scripts. And then we're going to be looking at story and society. We're going to be looking at specific examples from television shows of the current and past. The most recent one would be adolescence. We're going to be looking at how the themes and ideas within television shows can influence society, and how we as writers have a responsibility to be aware of that in our writing and to make specific choices about what it is we're doing when we come to write a script. Try B, we'll be looking at creativity and authorship 2. You'll be developing more of your ideas for the 60-minute and writing some of your 60-minute script. And you'll be prepping for your independent script project. We'll be looking at script skills. This is about, we're doing a specific block within that module on script editing, because one of the ways you can make a living while you're waiting for someone to pick up your series is to work as a script editor. So we'll be doing 5 or 6 weeks looking specifically, and that will be taught by Kathleen Hutchison, who used to be the exec producer on EastEnders and the exec producer on River City. And she's one of the acknowledged best script editors in the country. We'll be looking, as I said earlier, about genre writing, looking at a broader range of what's on television than just simply drama. And we'll also be looking at formats, because one of the things, for example, like something like The Traitors, because all of the skills that we're teaching you about how to make a television series are almost immediately transferable to something like a show like The Traitors. All of the design of characters, all of the plotting of episodes across the series, all of that can immediately be transferred into formats, and formats are a huge growing industry within television. So it's something you have to be looking at. And finally, we're going to be looking at understanding TV markets. This is more an academic kind of course. It's one module, but it's asking you to think carefully about where you think your television series that you're pitching should go. Where would it fit in the television landscape? Is it BBC One 8 o'clock? Very soft, very gentle. Is it 10:30 on Channel 4? Is it a Netflix show? You know, where would it go? And that's going to come really useful for you when you sit down to think about ideas for your independent script project, because one of the documents that will be in that portfolio that you present will actually be a paper, a reference paper on where am I going to pitch this show. Yeah. Okay. So I've told you about the teaching schedule, the Tri-C. One of the things we really like to look for in students coming on board and setting up how they go through the year is that contacts in the industry with producers, directors, everybody that comes in is absolutely essential. But we always look to create a team within our classes. The people you're going to be studying with are going to rise up through the industry with you, and they can be enormous supports to you and you to them throughout the next decade or more. As I said, I came on the course in its second year, and 2 of the people who will be teaching in the coming year are 2 people who were on the course with me. One of them's Linda McLaughlin, who's been writing for River City. She's an award-winning theatre writer and director. The other one is Michael Richardson, who, like myself, is also a BAFTA winner. And he'll be teaching on creativity and authorship. Linda will probably be teaching on long-running drama and maybe some of the other modules. We haven't quite decided. But we keep in touch and we share our scripts with one another and get feedback from each other. So we really want you to be coming on board and being part of a team who's going to move forward and be supports for one another in the industry. Okay, I think I've spoken enough. You must have some questions for me by now. I'll just let you put some of those up if there's anything I've not covered.
Thanks, David. That was great to hear a bit more information about the course and all the opportunities available for students on the course as well. Links with industry, I think that comes across, that it's a course that's got many contacts, alumni, links with industry that will really benefit everyone in their career. So it's great to hear. I'm sure everyone found that really helpful.
One of the things I forgot to mention is that, of course, the people who started 10, 15 years ago on the course, many of them now have quite senior positions in various broadcasters and independent production companies. And I'm not saying they're biased or anything, but it doesn't hurt to say that you're an MATV graduate. You're looked slightly more kindly on than many others, I think.
Well, they know the course and they know what people are learning here, so they know they can trust the course.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Now we do have a few attendees here, so if anyone would, as David said, if anyone would like to ask any questions, please do post those in the chat. We'd be happy to help. Of course, if something comes to you after the session today, then don't worry, support doesn't end here. You can get in touch with us via our website or email. Our student inquiries team are always happy to help point you in the right direction, and you can reach them with student inquiries at gcu.ac.uk.
One question that sometimes crops up in interviews is asking about part-time working while you're on the course. Now, we regard it as a full-time course, but we do understand that many of our students work part-time. We've had some people try to work full-time and do the course as well, and that doesn't work. But many of our students manage to juggle, and it is juggling. The coursework that's required of them, and also part-time working. I didn't really say much about assessments. They're specific to the modules. They tend to be either actual script work. We ask you to do bits of script work, which will get marked, or story documents, or sometimes proposals. But we're moving more away from marking those formally to discussing them in class rather than making them. So, for example, in the review of the course that we've just done, I've actually reduced the number of assignments from 16 down to 11, with those other 5 all moving in class, so that we get peer feedback on it rather than just a marker's opinion. So that it helps build your understanding of how story documents and character breakdowns should be approached. I think it's a lot more beneficial for you to discuss this in class, because there's always different opinions. But Hannah's put something up. Hang on.
So we've got a question that's come in from Hannah, who is currently studying an undergraduate degree in creative writing and is asking about applying for the course next September, as they have no experience studying television writing yet, and could they still apply? David?
Absolutely. All that we require is that you have an interest in television, that you like television. We have had a couple of people who've applied, and we asked them what television are you watching at the moment, and it's clear that they don't watch TV. That's not going to work. As long as you've got a favorite series or 5, then I'm very happy to bring you on. Absolutely, especially from Falmouth. I have big respect for their comedy course down there. So yes, absolutely. We in long-running drama, for example, we tell people which, because it changes from year to year, which series we're going to be focusing on. This year it was, we looked at both EastEnders and Murder Before Evensong, because cozy crime is huge. Huge. Yep. Lots of opportunities for work there. But we've done Shetland, we've done all kinds of stuff there. But we tell you that once you're on the course, kind of thing. But yeah, absolutely, Hannah.
Great.
Happy to have you.
Thanks, David and Hannah. Hope that answered your question. If anyone else has any questions before we wrap up today, please do post those, and David will be happy to answer.
Oh yes.
That's really interesting, David, to hear that there's a TV show they focus on throughout. Yeah, because I imagine people will be coming in with their favourite series and ideas, so it'd be good to all collectively focus on something else.
And that's where we do 2 assignments in that. One of the things we do in long running drama when we're studying a specific series that's on television at the moment is that that's where we get a senior member of management of the production team to come in and run that all day workshop, which is incredibly exciting, because it's a fantastic day. But we also, what we do with that is we ask people about week 4 or 5, once their head's right in it. We give them the story beats for an episode, and we ask them to write an episode of that series. We then give them notes, and then we ask them to implement the notes in a second draft. It's a really important exercise about taking on notes from a script editor. And people rave about how that's improved their writing after they leave the course. It's a really important exercise. But yeah,
Sorry, we have had another question come in the Q&A part there from Alan, saying, "Hi David, you mentioned working on projects over the summer. When will briefs be available for these?"
Well, you create your own brief. Basically, the independent script project, there's only one project over the summer, and that's the creation of a new television series and all the documentation that needs to go with it. They call it the Bible. So during Creativity and Authorship 1 and Creativity Authorship 2, you'd be working all the time on developing your ideas for that. You'd be getting feedback from your tutors. You'd be getting feedback from your fellow students. And then you go off and write that episode over the summer. And that's as defined a brief as you can get. We'll tell you all the documentation you need to come along with that. But you have to write either a 60-minute episode of television or 2 30 minutes if you're going for a different kind of genre, maybe sitcom or comedy drama or something. You have to do 60 minutes of television, and then character breakdowns, future episode breakdowns, a reflection on your own writing, on where you are as a writer, your strengths, and what you need to work on, the context of where you would put it. If you got the commission tomorrow, where would you want to put it? Where do you pitch it to? Details like that. So the brief is as brief as I've just said. You are completely free to come up with your own new television series. Yeah.
That sounds exciting, having that freedom. And I suppose when you get to that summer term, if you've started in September, you've had all that experience doing the other modules, that you'll have, I imagine, lots of ideas by the time you get to that point of what direction you want to go in.
Yeah. And understanding creativity and authorship is absolutely based from day one of the first of Tri-A in September on helping you to develop that creativity, to start thinking outside the box, to start having what we call intentional creativity sessions, and not just grab the first idea that comes along and analyze it and put it through the ringer in your head and pitch it to other people in the class and hear their feedback and hear our feedback, so that you're not just going off in the summer and feeling, oh my goodness, what do I do now? You've got 2 terms of prep before you hit that. And of course, you'll also have your industry mentor who you can Zoom with or Teams with, or if they live near you, you can have a sit-down coffee That's also a great way to develop a relationship. My mentor from all that time ago, I still keep in touch with, and he still comes in and does guest lectures for us. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's Marcus. Oh,
Yep. So Marcus had a small connection issue, but is asking if students get experience in a simulated writer's room where they're writing collaboratively under deadlines, etc.
yes, absolutely. I covered this. I'm sorry, your headphones went down. In long-running drama, we focus on one particular show, sometimes two, but mostly one, and we'll do a live writers' room where a senior member of the production team from that series will come along, and you'll be pitching ideas and then working as teams to develop the idea further.
Thank you, David. And thank you to everyone who's joined us today. It's been great to, I'm sure everyone will agree, great to hear more details about the course, but also great to get those questions at the end there. And hopefully we've answered the questions you have at the moment. But if you do think of anything, as I've said, please do get in touch with us after the session. We'd be more than happy to help. So I think that probably brings us to the end of our webinar today. I'd just like to thank you, David, for your time again. And thank you everyone who joined us online.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you for coming along and for your questions.
Thank you. Well, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.